the land on planet Earth, it's almost entirely claimed, from the remote Pacific islands of Hawaii to the tip of Mount Everest. But the reason I say almost is because there are still some pieces of land that are still not claimed by any nation. Yes, on the point when even Mars is on the verge of colonization, it's actually amazing that there are still some unclaimed pieces of land. Most of them are the result of border disputes, that's for sure. And they seem really insignificant to the surrounding nations as well. So let's dive in.
The first unclaimed land, you won't believe it, it's in Europe. Yeah, it's the continent that you would assume that every square inch of it would be claimed by someone. But somehow there's still a piece of land in Europe that no one wants to claim. It's wedged in between Danube River in southeastern Europe, covering just 7 square kilometers of land. It's actually way bigger than Vatican City and Monaco. Nobody lives in it. It's a Danube floodplain just covered with dozens of trees, and by looking at the map you can tell the top contenders for this piece of land would be Croatia and Serbia. But there is a special reason why no one is claiming it. This little piece, along with all this land around it, was all under Austro-Hungarian Empire. They drew this municipal boundary between the Croats and Serbs, and it was simple. The municipal border just went along the course of the Danube River. Then the Austro-Hungarian Empire would decide to straighten the Danube with several engineering projects along this river. The point was to make this river more easier for navigation and make the transportation of goods more efficient, which resulted in the river looking like this. But there was no problem, everything was going great until the First World War hit and the empire eventually collapsed. Still no problem though, both Croatia and Serbia would find themselves under Yugoslavia. But the problems would begin when Yugoslavia would collapse as well around the 90s, and all of a sudden the border dividing Croatia and Serbia, which didn't matter much, started to matter a lot. Because Croatia and Serbia were now 2 independent nations for the first time. So the border on the Danube River meant 2 different things for Croatia and Serbia. Serbia says that the border should go along the course of Danube River as it is right now, which would mean Serbia would claim this side with all these chunks of land. But Croatia on the other side says that the border should go along the original course of river, just like as it was before the river's course was changed up, which would mean Croatia would claim all these chunks. And it's obvious why both these nations want to claim these parts on the eastern bank of the river, as they're quite big in size than these pockets on the western bank, which includes Liberland as well. So the problem is both sides want these bigger chunks and no one wants Liberland along with these small chunks. Because if Croatia claims Liberland as their own, that would mean they recognize the border as the Danube River as it is right now, which would forfeit their claims on these chunks. And on the other side, if Serbia claims Liberland, that would mean Serbia recognizes the original course of river and won't be able to claim these parts of the land on the eastern side. So neither Croatia nor Serbia claim this piece of land, but it cannot be for you to claim at all, because this land is totally protected by Croatian army and won't let anybody in. As this is still a subject of dispute between both authorities, a third party obviously won't be able to claim this land at all. For the next unclaimed piece of land, we're gonna head down to Africa, and I'm sure you might have heard of it. I actually made a YouTube short on this and it has well over 16 million views. It's Beer to Wheel. Covering just more than 2,000 square kilometers, it's almost as big as Luxembourg, and you'll find it between Egypt and Sudan. It's totally empty and nobody wants to claim it, and the reason for that, it's kinda same as of Liberland. This piece of land was a part of British colony, and when it came to divide the territories of Egypt and Sudan, they drew this border in 1899. Then in 1902, they would draw another line telling that Beer to Wheel belongs to Egypt and this big triangle known as the Halaib region belongs to Sudan. And now the problems begin as both nations want this Halaib region. The reason why both want Halaib over Beer to Wheel is of course really simple. The Halaib region is like 10 times bigger than Beer to Wheel, a couple thousand people live there, it has a coastline on the Red Sea, and on top of that, oil reserves were discovered on the EEZs of Halaib. It's obvious both Egypt and Sudan want this region desperately. So to claim Halaib, Egypt recognizes the border that Britain drew in 1899 and Sudan recognizes the border drawn in 1902.
Now, if Egypt claims Beit Will, that would mean they recognize the 1902 border in which Halaib region will belong to Sudan. And on the other side, if Sudan claims Beit Will, they will recognize the 1899 border in which Halaib would belong to Egypt. So there it is, unclaimed, but doesn't mean you can claim it. I mean, a few people have tried it, coming in and planting their own custom flags. For obvious reasons, it's not that easy for anyone to just claim this piece of land. It is a vast, empty piece of Sahara desert. No one lives there, so there is no development at all. And Halaib, as of now, even if Sudan still claims it, it is de facto administered by Egypt. So it's not hard to say that Sudan would take down any claims on Beit Will. They just wouldn't let both pieces of land go. And that pretty much covers for Beit Will. Now moving on to the biggest unclaimed piece of land on the planet, and it's down here in Antarctica. It's called Mary Bird Land, covering more than 1.6 million square kilometers. It's actually as big as Mongolia. Antarctica as a whole can be called unclaimed, but several nations actually claim some parts of Antarctica. Many of the claims even overlap, but we can see this part is still unclaimed. So is there any specific reason for that? Mary Bird Land, along with the entire Antarctica, cannot be claimed by any nation because of the provisions of the Antarctic Treaty, which was signed in 1951 and was enforced in 1961. Under the Antarctic Treaty, which was signed by 54 nations including the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, and China, Antarctica is designated as a scientific preserve, and all the territorial claims on Antarctica are suspended. The treaty states that no country can establish or maintain any military presence, carry out any nuclear explosions or waste disposal, or engage in any commercial activities except for scientific research. Therefore, even though several nations, including the United States, have conducted scientific research in Mary Bird Land, no country can claim sovereignty over this region, as it is governed by the provisions of Antarctic Treaty. But that still does not answer why only Mary Bird Land is unclaimed in Antarctica. The thing is, the Antarctic Treaty says that it does not discredit any claims prior to the signing of the treaty. It actually denies any new claim on this frozen continent. So as Mary Bird Land was unclaimed at the signing of this treaty in 1959, the land still remains unclaimed and will remain unclaimed.
So those were the 3 unclaimed pieces of land, and unfortunately we cannot claim any of these for our own. Talking about Liberland, only Croatia or Serbia can claim it. Going down to Beit Will, only Egypt or Sudan can claim it. And the mighty Mary Bird Land, well, no one can claim it. At least for now. But you can claim like and subscribe buttons. I mean, that will really help me a lot. If you enjoyed the video, you should go for it. If not, then I'll try it better next time. Well, I'll see you in the next one.